In 1988, Japan laid claim to having 8 of the 10 largest companies in the world. Today, it has none in the top 20. By 2050, 44% of the country will be older than 60, and already it's the world's oldest society. Barry Bosworth at the Brookings Institution says the shrinking workforce and aging country will challenge Japan's capacity to grow economically in the future as more people are added to the country's pension and health care system.
They're like the United States. They have a pretty cheap pension system. And they're like Europe, that they have a pretty cheap health care system. But it's had big effects on their private sector. The reason is the workforce is falling now. So the number of workers every year is falling over time. So the economy doesn't grow very much.
Japan's gross domestic product, when adjusted for inflation, has not grown since the 1990s, and its debt is twice its GDP. Europe, with its own economic challenges, is also getting older. People are living longer, and there's been a steep decrease in fertility rates. And the International Monetary Fund says the ratio of retirees to workers will double by 2050. The United States, burdened with $14 trillion of debt, also has an aging population. By 2030, those 65 and older will make up nearly 20% of the country, or nearly double the number since 2000. And the United States has an inefficient and costly health care system, according to David Rosnick at the Center for Economic and Policy Research.
We have healthcare costs that are much higher than any other industrialized country, and our costs are projected to grow even faster than most industrialized countries. And therefore, if we don't do anything about it, we're going to see some serious economic trouble even outside of the government.
The combination of aging workers and debt has had disastrous effects on advanced economies, according to Barry Bosworth. The U.S., Japan, and the European Union will likely grow slower in the future, he says, thus reducing their ability to meet the needs of their growing, aging populations. He says what has occurred during the debt crisis is a terrible confluence of forces. He says the United States used to have a manageable debt.
But we had always sort of thought, going forward, that we had this deficit problem just with aging. Now compounded with the fact that we've run up all this debt. And in future years, when interest rates recover, we're going to have to pay the interest on that debt, plus we're going to have to pay for the retired, out of a much slower growing economy.
Germany is Europe's largest economy, but it's also another shrinking and aging population. A driving economic force in the EU, Germany is facing a potential shortfall of some 2 million skilled workers within 10 years. In 2000, Germany opened its doors to attract young, highly skilled workers from other European countries, but only a very small number have gone to Germany so far, and those that do enter the construction and healthcare sector more than the engineering and technical sector, where Germany is very much in need. Even the world's second biggest economy, China, faces an age problem. Its one-child policy of 1979 did what it was intended, reducing their booming population by some 300 million people. Bosworth says the policy dramatically slowed the number of young people entering the workforce, and China will begin to age rapidly over the next couple of decades.
Because they have coming up a very small number of young people. They're very worried about this transition. They brought down the birth rate too rapidly.
The future model for the economies of these aging countries may already be in place.
I think the Japan of today is the future for lots of us. They will become economies where people have to learn to work longer than they've used to in the past. That will save us some money because we won't have to re-educate all of them, so we'll save some money on education. But they will be in worse health, so health care costs for the working population will be higher. And then you'll have all these retirement costs.
Also in Japan, more women have entered the workforce. Men there are working longer, perhaps taking lower-level jobs as they age, making way for the young. And with automation now carrying out simple chores for the elderly, they may be able to live at home longer, thus reducing the cost of health care. I'm Philip Alexiou, VOA News.